Are you trying to navigate this crazy thing called life? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to Unraveling with Rayne. Hey guys, we are here with Lindsay Kirby. She is the owner of Sculpt Tri-Cities. She is a wife and a mom, and she's a health coach.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I'm
no problem.
Really excited.
Yeah, so where to begin?
I know,
There's
right?
so much in your story. There's so much. So tell us a little bit about where you grew up.
So I grew up in a tiny, I didn't even grow up in a town. I grew up between two extremely small towns.
Yeah.
Odessa and Wilbur.
Uh-huh.
And I went to school in Wilbur, Washington, which is about 2.5 hours north of here.
Okay.
And, Wilbur has 900 people. I went in the same building, K through 12, graduated with 18 people, so just
nice.
A cool little small farming community.
Yeah.
So
I thought it was, a pretty small graduating class because mine was 42, I think, so 18, yeah, you got me beat there.
Yeah, it's definitely like, the 5 guys in my class were like my brothers, and then, it's just, it's pretty fun. It's pretty cool, though, to grow up that way.
Definitely tight-knit, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's, for me, like, the Tri-Cities was a huge metropolis, when we moved here, so.
Yeah.
For sure. But it's not too far away, so we still can get up there.
That's good.
Whenever we need to.
Good. So what was it like growing up there?
I grew up on a farm, and on a wheat farm.
Okay.
So not necessarily a farm with animals, but just a farm with rolling wheat.
Yeah.
And so I just spent a lot of time outside, just doing whatever. And I have 2 little brothers, which is funny because my youngest brother just turned 30 on the 9th, and so it's kind of crazy when your youngest brother's 30 to call him a little brother, but so it's pretty awesome. Like, it just a lot of generational, like, there's just so much culture of that family generational, that's just what you do.
Sure. And you had mentioned it was like a 3rd generation farm, right? So, okay.
Yeah, so everything's just about, like, the history and the foundation of the farm being life, So
that's a good foundation for sure.
Yeah.
Lots of good life skills to be learned on
it's pretty farm. Now that I'm older and have kids that are growing up completely different, I appreciate it so much more.
Sure.
So.
Sure. Yeah, that's quite the contrast, I'm sure.
Yeah, because it's not like that's just like the job that my dad did. We lived it with him. So it's and my mom's family has like the farming background as well.
Oh, really?
So both sides. Yeah. Both my parents had grown up in Wilbur and Odessa as well.
Oh.
So my whole life is just about this. You're known for your name and who you are, and it's just like before you're born, people like know you or know your foundation of your story, I guess.
That has to be kind of a strange feeling almost. So So then leaving home, so you left home. When did you leave home?
So right when I like the fall after graduating high school, I started school at WSU Pullman.
Okay.
So I went to Pullman, and that was like a huge, it didn't feel like it at the time necessarily, like it wasn't scary, but it was definitely like a complete culture shock of, being around lots of different people, like with different backgrounds, and as far as just like my roommates in college were all from the Seattle area.
Oh my.
And just when they would talk about just even the activities they had access to growing up and stuff, it was just mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
Like, I literally remember one of my roommates talking about like a fruit that she grew up eating, just because in where I grew up, it was like there was 5 different produce. There was like bananas and sometimes apples, and if we got lucky, there was like good cucumbers. And she was just talking about like the Seattle market.
Yeah.
And I just remember being like, oh my
or
gosh.
there's like 5 different types of apple alone. Yeah.
So I just remember being, I mean, here I am like 19 being shocked that there's such a thing called starfish fruit or whatever it's called.
Yeah. That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you
little
navigate
things.
that then with such an extreme difference at times?
I don't think I've always been really social, and I've always loved people, and you know, I'm introverted and shy, but yet I'm a social person. Like
Sure.
you know, I always love saying hi to people and smiling at strangers, and that's just kind of my personality. But at the same time, so I loved that environment. Like I just loved all my friends, and I loved all the different people that I was meeting. But to go from a place where, I mean, you could drive me through the town I grew up in, and I could name who lived in every house.
Yeah.
And you don't even go to the grocery store without everyone knowing you're at the grocery store because everyone knows you.
Yeah.
To where nobody knows you. It was kind of like almost at times like an ego check for me.
Really?
Because I just was used to everyone knowing who I was, and not necessarily thinking I was a big deal, but going to a place where nobody knew who I was and nobody really cared at the same time either. So it was kind of nice in a way, but I definitely feel like what happened is instead of focusing on the why I was there, I spent more time trying to like prove myself socially.
Okay.
And I don't know if I even like could put that into words until just that right now, but I mean, I definitely didn't do very good.
You got caught up in the social life, huh?
Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then, after you find yourself at WSU and you're reaching out and you're kind of navigating this brand new world, kind of. So then, what was next in your life? What happened next?
Well, I definitely went through kind of a few ups and downs at Pullman. Like I definitely fell off track with school. Spent way too much time focusing on the social part, the drinking and partying. Like I'm totally that classic like pre-med to bar girl. And I'm just super, you know, it's just it is what it is. But
no shame.
Yeah.
No shame. It's the best of us.
Yeah, go Cougs.
Right.
And I mean, if you're a Coug, that's just what you do. But so I actually went from being like going to school for a full ride academically for pre-med to not even like in school all this like after my second year and just working. And so then, you know, when you realize really quick, like, that's not what you want to do either for the rest of your life is, you know, work minimum wage jobs, then I just did the whole classic, well, I don't know what I want to do. And then met my, what then became my husband, but we'd grown up together.
Sure.
And so it wasn't like a new person in my life, it's just kind of reconnected. And I got pregnant.
Ooh.
So I was at WSU Pullman and got pregnant. So that definitely is like
it's a game changer.
Oh yeah, like my whole life just completely changed.
Yeah.
But by this point, it wasn't like I was going into my 5th year there. So I had my time there.
Sure.
I felt ready to leave. You know, it was done. A lot of my friends were graduating anyways.
Yeah.
So it was okay. It was, you know, totally like on time as far as the season in my life. And so I just got lucky that I was able to focus enough in school to do really well on any of my prereqs for a nursing program.
There you go.
So I got, so I just applied for a nursing program, got right in, and got started within like a few months of finding out I was pregnant and that life was going to change.
So you had already kind of taken the steps towards nursing at that
Yeah,
point?
because pre-med and pre-nursing are essentially the same as far as those core foundation classes.
So it was easy to switch over?
Yeah, I had already completed all those. So, and sometimes I almost feel guilty about that because it's like I almost feel, I'm like, I don't know if I guess I've been hard on myself before for not being like, completely going straight through school. Like, did I deserve to be in nursing school? When you get into nursing school, people have like sacrificed so much and studied so loyally.
Sure.
Where I kind of was like a complete screw off and on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I always kind of had that like, I just snuck in.
Yeah.
Like I'm a fraud type of a feeling.
Really? Well, you earned it. I mean, you did the courses.
Yeah,
so.
And it's funny because I did really well. Like they're almost all A's. So that's just things I've grown through. Is that kind of kind
of a mindset.
Yeah.
Mindset. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So then you have this bundle of joy on the way.
Yes.
Switch to nursing. And then what happens next?
So I actually went to nursing school my first year extremely, like, to the point where I had just finished my first year and then had my son. And right before I had him, my then husband, we'd gotten married, or soon-to-be husband, we got married when my son was 6 months old. But anyway, he got a job here in the Tri-Cities.
Okay, so that's right here.
Yeah, and I was going to nursing school in Moses Lake. So we moved here, and then after I had my son, I started back to nursing school in Moses Lake. So I drove back and forth. And in the meantime, had also started work at Trios Hospital doing... as an OB tech, working in the labor and delivery unit.
How did you manage driving back and forth?
I don't know. It's like you just do it.
Isn't it crazy how we look back at times in our lives? Like, like, how did I even manage that? I don't
Seriously,
even know.
Especially that highway.
Right.
So because it was that, or I kind of had to like wait to get into CBC, and it would have put me back a year and a half. So it was the right decision because I saved a lot of money, not having to do a couple classes that they say didn't transfer and all this kind of silly stuff. So I drove back and forth for a year and a half from here to Tri-Cities for nursing school and the resident classes and all that. And so and towards my last year of my second part of nursing school, I got pregnant again. So we had our second child right as I finished nursing school and took my boards. So
how was that like handling, brand new to motherhood and going to school and having a job? Like, how was that experience? Like, can you even remember it? Because I know there's times in my life like I don't even remember, but we're here now.
Yeah. Actually, now that you ask me that, I've never really thought about that before. But I remember that really clearly. Like, I have a lot of really clear, present moments. And a lot of it was when I was driving. Yeah. Sometimes I miss driving. I have a lot of, I do a lot of deep thinking and even, spiritually, just, connecting and things like that. I get a lot of ideas when I'm driving.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like a blessing in disguise, I guess, for that time in your life.
And I remember feeling really connected when I was pregnant, feeling really connected to my babies when I was driving.
Yeah.
Oh,
I guess that is kind of some alone time with your baby.
Yeah, and I think it's just that slowing down and just doing one thing. Yeah. Because, maybe it's been a while since I've just done that. Yeah. Take a breath. Yeah, and just focus on doing one thing for an hour.
No, moms have to do 10 million things.
Exactly.
At a time.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, to me, it sounds like busy, but to me that was like one of the most just clear, I'm just doing this time in my life, even though it was like, when you say it out loud and it's like, that sounds crazy. Right. But
okay, so we've got 2 babies now.
Yeah.
Yes, and then you are still doing nursing. And then where was the shift after that?
So I was worked as a registered nurse, traditional hospital. I was a labor and delivery nurse at Trios until, essentially about 10 years. Up until, and then for about a year I also took a break from trios, but still worked as an OB nurse for a doctor here locally, and I loved that. I loved being an office nurse. And then
the hours are better, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's still a lot of hours, but it's normal hours, they call it. Daylight hours. And so, I had worked a lot of night shift in my life because I actually started working as a nurse's aide when I was 15.
Oh, wow.
In the Odessa hospital. Odessa actually has a hospital. And they have a nursing home.
Oh,
and so when I was 15, I couldn't even drive. I would just, my grandma and grandpa lived right by the hospital, and I would work at the nursing home, and even took care of my great grandma.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, she was the meanest patient I've ever had. But
you're like, oh, that's so awesome. You're like, no, she was really.
She's so sweet. I mean, I love her to death, but she was just ornery.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, by the time I was 29 and working night shifts, I felt like I'd been doing it. Well, I had been like for 14 years. So I kind of, gave the office job, day job a try. And then just felt like I actually wanted to go back to the shift work just for life and schedule and stuff. And then, let's see. So then I was about 29 years old. And I did have a huge shift, and I just remember it clearly. Like, I just literally woke up one morning, and I just remember feeling like, who am I? Like, I felt so stuck. And it was so crazy because everything felt fine up until that moment. I just woke up, and I'm like, man, I feel like miserable.
Really?
I just felt like I was, who the heck am I right now? Because I was just going through the motions. I think my kiddos were probably like 4 and 2, and I just between that and I think I hadn't really processed all the changes I had gone and all the ups and downs
kind of a whirlwind of a life there for a while.
I just had head down, plow through it, and it's no big deal. There's and I guess there was no reason to consider how I felt about anything. It was just like, that's what I needed to do. And I think part of it was just a combination of a journey of a lot of it, like when I did kind of fall off track at school and things like that, I think that was harder on me and who I really am deep down that I'd ever really faced.
Really?
I don't think I really truly allowed myself to acknowledge that that's not who I really wanted to be.
Was it because you felt like some of those aspects were still kind of traced in your life, or you just kind of put it under the rug and left it there?
I think I put it under the rug and left it there, and I think that I didn't really, deep down, I wasn't proud of myself for giving so much energy and priority to kind of molding myself to what the popular, what I thought would make me accepted.
Yeah.
That it's fun and I love people, but, deep down I also love feeling healthy and feeling vibrant. And the habits I had picked up were to not take care of myself healthfully. Drinking a lot of alcohol and not exercising anymore at all. And I'd grown up an athlete, grown up outside all the time.
Right.
Eating really clean, just from the earth stuff all the time.
Right.
There was no fast food where I grew up.
Oh my God.
Like no fast food restaurants at all.
Right. So obviously you were super healthy and your body felt really good at a younger age. And so I guess, let's see, how many years is that? Probably like 10 years, give or take, that you kind of turned away from that lifestyle and eating and being outside and working with your body. I guess, I don't know, did you have like a fitness routine
because I really, even when I would say around 16 years old, I started to do the partying and feeling like that would make me more like what I should do, I guess, to be to stay in my friends, just to get I thought that's who I was at the time, but it wasn't who I was, and I didn't know any different. So actually, like if you think about that, like 13 years of completely doing opposite of what my body
was used to.
Yeah, was used to, and then also just who I am, really, who I really am, is not that person.
Sure.
You know?
Sure, yeah, so mind and body.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So you kind of felt that coming on at about, like you said, 29?
Yeah. And I didn't know, it's not like I woke up and knew what was going on. I just remember that morning, like, waking up and going, man, I just feel like crap. Like,
yeah.
And just feeling really stuck. Like, I wasn't necessarily... Like, if someone would have seen me in person, I wasn't overweight, but I felt 100 pounds overweight. I felt like, whose body is this? I felt...
Granted, you did have 2 babies.
Yes, yeah.
It'll do a lot to your mental state and your body and how you relate to your body.
Exactly, and a lot of night shifts.
Yeah.
And not just night shifts, but, like, flexing back and forth from a 14-hour day to that next day off. But the next day off is... you go to work at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock that night.
Right.
So it was just a lot of shift work.
Right.
And that back and forth, which so many people do. And I just remember I kind of just felt like a zombie. And I didn't think I was unhappy. I just remember being like, man, I feel like something's got to change. Like, I don't feel very good. And I didn't have any clue what that meant. I didn't really have any, like, I didn't tell anyone by any means. I didn't even really talk to myself about it. There's just something, I just remember that shift.
Yeah.
Like, kind of, something's got to change.
Yeah. So what was your first step into, like, remedying that feeling?
Yeah. Well, that was the first time. So even though I was doing all these unhealthy habits, for some reason, just because up until I was, like, out of high school, because I was an athlete in high school and all of that, I still had it in my head that I was this, like, know-it-all healthy person.
Yeah.
And so even though I was doing nothing...
The dialogue we feed ourselves, right?
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I got to start eating right. And I mean, I knew what to do.
Yeah.
And so it just made me more open to trying like a system or a program nutrition-wise that would help me get on track. And so, and I'd always made fun of diets. Like, completely. I always made fun of any type of supplement. Had never drank a shake or anything like that in my life.
Yeah.
Thought I was so anti-it. Why, I don't know. I just thought I knew what I knew.
Sure.
And that you don't need that stuff.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine actually, we were just catching up, and she was like, yeah, I just did this cleanse. And this was, almost 10 years ago.
Right.
You know, really.
Yeah.
And back then, like, 8 to 10 years ago, when you said cleanse, people were like, what?
Yeah.
It's totally normal now, but back then it was kind of weird.
Right.
And I just remember, like, her saying that she felt like she had a lot of energy afterwards, and that it was only, like, a 9-day cleanse or whatever. And so I was just like, I think I need that.
Yeah. Tell me more.
Yeah. So I did that program and felt amazing.
Yes.
It really did help. And then when I felt that amazing, I just stuck with using that nutrition line for a couple of months, and then started working out again and started to feel really good.
Yeah.
So, and then I thought I was ordering the products from like QVC or something. I had no idea.
Oh, how
they were just
how the system
coming
worked?
to my house. Yeah, and I just thought that that's what that was.
Oh.
Until about 3 months later on the product, and then a woman from Spokane called me, and she's like, did you know? And well, she first was like assumed that I knew. I was kind of like getting it from her, and I was like, why is QVC calling me at 8 o'clock at night? Like, this is weird.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I'm like, I live in Spokane, and I know your friend, and so anyways, I ended up being network marketing, which I had no clue what those words were.
Right.
And she's like, yeah, no, like, you've been ordering the product loyally, so you have like all these points you can use. And so that led me into network marketing.
Gotcha.
Just getting excited about the fact that this product I was ordering from, I thought, QVC, that I could share it, like tell my friends about it, and they could maybe get some free too.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know.
Right. So did that kind of like open up the point where you're like, oh, well, maybe I could venture off and do my own thing in other avenues as well?
Well, at first it was just completely just like, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? Okay. Like, you share it and then what? And
right.
So super just out of pure fun.
Yeah.
And then my friends were feeling really good too, and that's like,
sure.
I was like, that's a cool feeling. I mean, I just loved hearing I mean, some of the initial people that also tried the product, they felt really good, and some of it was like, you know, heart, like amazing transformations of just overall health. And so it just became like a natural thing where I was just curious. So, you know, they have events with network marketing companies. They have like getaway events. So the same woman that had called was like, you should come to San Diego with me, like, in like 2 weeks. And I was like, what? And I had never traveled ever. I don't know if I'd been outside of Washington really at that point. And so I just, and I remember feeling so weird about leaving the kids and all of that and going without my, you know, and I went by myself with the some other girls that were doing the product. And we went to San Diego, and it was just like this whole world opened that I had no idea. It was like, where this is a whole nother like secret world I didn't know about. And in my head, when we were flying there, I thought it was going to be like all these guys in black suits and have all these briefcases, and are they going to even like have fun? Is it going to be like...
You mean in regards to like the meeting itself?
I had no idea. I had no idea what I was getting into. And then when we got to the event, it was just like everyone was just like me. Like they were just like excited to feel good, and they didn't feel good before, and now they do.
Right.
And so I felt so connected, and it was all about just feeling good. And
I think because obviously that's how we kind of connected, is through this networking thing. And I think that was probably the biggest thing that I took away from it too, is you just have people around you all the time that are just like excited to be there, and you're just like, oh, okay, so we're feeling good, and then I'm feeding off of your energy, and you're feeding off of mine, and it's amazing.
And you have to kind of think too, like at the time I'd been spending 14 years of my career in a very stressful, very negative, very eat the young, very, if you say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing to and I'm just gonna be totally transparent, like as a nurse, like there's times that you're completely ripped apart by a doctor. Like there's been times that I've heard doctors talk to a nurse that like I would never allow one of my children to even talk to each other that way when they're fighting, you know. It's just crazy, some of the things that you just kind of, it's just a stressful environment, and that's what it is. It's stress with people's lives and online. So there's and that's okay. I mean, that's there's times when things need to be said.
Gravitating towards this other energy-filled arena rather than this one that can be very stressful and chaotic. But there's give and take in everything.
Exactly. Yeah, like I said, I mean, there's times you need to hear that stuff when you're dealing with patients that are sick and people's lives. So
definitely.
But what I realized I wanted to be around that more, and I started to think, or I started to just want to do that more than, I just loved that. I loved being around that positive environment. I started going to other events. And so because I loved that, I wanted to share the opportunity side of it with people too. And kind of naively just thought that everyone would be as so excited about it as I was. And my family didn't really love that at all. And like the classic, you know, oh gosh, what's she gonna talk about now? Like, So.
Oh no, I get those looks too. Don't worry, I'm in the same boat. No.
So it's just, and I'm just always like, what do you? But it's awesome. Like, you know, and so definitely it's where my, I get excited. You know, around just that positive environment, that type of thing.
So you definitely wanted to start leaning towards that more. And so did you like slowly taper back hours nursing and like put
definitely
more energy
slowly
into your,
I didn't even change being a full-time nurse until I actually found a different company almost like 4 years later. And actually had a third baby by then. So with quite a break in between, we had and what kind of happened is I started to do a lot of that network marketing with that first company, and my marriage started to fall apart. And so I just totally pulled back from the network marketing. and was like, you know, I need to be what everyone wants me to be so that everyone's happy. And
here, let's just crush your spirit now.
Yeah, and the bummer about that is that I thought that was the answer, instead of just being on it, instead of really just being willing to be open about how I was, why I was, you know, happier, and that it wasn't anything with anyone else, it's just how I felt.
Sure.
Spent way too much energy trying to defend what the network marketing was, rather than just the why I felt happy.
Sure. Yeah.
And not really taking time to look at what that really was.
Right. I found that a lot. Like, if you, sometimes when you're so adamant about something, you get confused as to, like, how to interpret that to others, and, like, what the bottom of it is. Like you're saying, like, instead of focusing on your why, focusing on, you know, what they wanted you to push, and you're just like, it's like a whirlwind almost sometimes, because you want to be happy, but you also want to make everybody else happy too. So,
right.
Yeah.
Now that you're saying that, I did a lot of defending of, like, that product when it actually had nothing to do with that product.
Right.
Like, it could have been this bowl
right.
that just, you know, people thought was really pretty. And it had nothing to do. But so I focused way too much on, like, attachment to that product. And so it was almost like that one shake was just like a part of who I was then. Yeah. And so it's kind of the same thing as when going out and partying in college wasn't, and the alcohol, environment wasn't really me. It was just more the social fun, feeling connected that I was trying to get. Yeah. But it was like, you just putting that, what it means in the or what it is that's making me happy in the wrong. Yeah. Focusing on the wrong thing. Just a different
filter for the same kind of thing you're reaching for, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So then you switch to a different supplement line. Yes. Yeah. And then how long were you with that product?
So, and I still love that. I still like share that product to when I talk to someone that's not feeling great and I feel like it might be a good match. Both, actually. Yeah. Which is really great. So, so that was like probably like 2015. Okay. That I found this other company that was a lot different. It was just more of a added into your life instead of a replace meals and type of a thing. So it was a lot easier to share. Sure. Because I didn't have to tell people they couldn't eat the food and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then the same thing happened. It was like they too felt really, really good. Yeah. And so I had this whole like, well, I guess it's not just this company, and so I'm like completely not going to share that company. I'm only going to share this one. Yeah. And so it'd been about a year and a half of me completely not doing any type of product or sharing it and selling it. And then once I found this one, it was just like the first time, but like on steroids. Yeah. Like I was just like, this is it. And I didn't, like, that one didn't work out because it wasn't the one. I was like, this is the one. This is the product. Okay. And so got really excited about it. Shared it really fast with a lot of people and had some really cool health transformation stories happen even here in the Tri-Cities. Yeah. And it's a pretty badass product. Like, it's just a plant. Yeah. So I love it because it's just from the earth and it's just a plant. Yeah. But nothing to do with the product. The same thing started to happen within me, where I felt really really happy, really aligned. But it was changing how everyone saw me. I was really focused on if it meant traveling for 3 days to Vancouver, BC. Yeah. And, leaving the family at home to go do that, then I was going to do it because that was my like purpose. Sure. Sure. If it meant, flying to Bowling Green, Kentucky, then I was going to do it because this was my why. This was my passion.
Do you think that I don't know how to word this, but do you think that it's more of like a traditional like view of how a family's supposed to work that kind of pulled people's perception of what you're doing and how you're trying to do your business and run, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and perception is definitely the word. I mean, that was kind of a lot of pain that I've experienced is realizing how strong perception is.
Yeah.
And I've gone through just so much like loss from pure perception. And I just remember feeling so confused because it was like I was making actually more money than I would have as a nurse. And I would go for 3 days, but when I worked as a nurse, I'd be gone for 5 nights in a row.
Right.
And nobody would see me.
Right.
But I was just sleeping during the day and working all night. But because I was clocking in somewhere, I was doing a real job.
Right.
And
the stigma of the real job. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And to be totally fair, like, you know, I was on the phone a lot too. So I'd be home and still not present.
Sure.
And definitely I'm a workaholic, no matter if I'm at the hospital or at home. And
I don't know what that's like at all.
I don't balance perfectly at all. And then the first, you know, I know it.
Yeah.
I still deal with that to this day. So, but yeah, it just, it hurt a lot when it was like, there was just a lot of labels started to be formed of like, you know, why I was doing it and things like that. And so that's, I think, just feeling so misunderstood.
How did you wrestle with that, though? Like,
not very well.
Yeah.
I just essentially shut everyone out and became really strong-headed of like, well, then you guys just don't understand me. I'm just gonna, you know, I don't know how else to defend, what else to say.
Sure.
And, yeah, it really broke communication. I mean, there was just, it was just a lot of misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And so, with my husband at the time, and then also my family too. And they were just, I think, worried about me. Like, they were trying to save the Lindsay they knew.
Sure.
And, you know, that type of thing. So.
Yeah. So then you had to just show them the Lindsay you are.
Yeah.
Keep being the Lindsay you are.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's, you know, that's what started to happen is I just knew that there was a lot of, like, toxic things started to happen, a lot of, like, verbal abuse and things like that, and, you know, it's just, like, things that shouldn't happen in front of kids and stuff like that. And so, we did the right thing and got divorced, I feel like, for the kids' sake, as far as just treating each other nicely.
Sure. And I'm sure that didn't help as far as that perception angle. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't view divorce in the best light, even though sometimes it's like the saving grace for everybody in the family, you know what I mean?
No. I mean, I always say, like, there's a reason that they talk about divorce being hell in the Bible. Like, it is hell. It's complete hell. And this, you know, the kids at the time were 9 and 7 and 2. So it was just really sensitive ages for that to happen. And they were totally the kids weren't blindsided, but a lot of people on the outside were blindsided. Sure. Because we put on a good show and, you know, tried really hard, and we were fighting for it. We were trying to make it work. And, so essentially the moment that I left, I was alone. Like, there was nobody. And part of that was my own doing, because I had people that were not understanding me. I just shut them out. Sure. But
not purposely, of course. I mean, you just kind of, sometimes you run into situations where you just don't know what else to do. You know, so like, I need to, like, self-preservation mode, right?
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that initial week just feeling in a cocoon. Yeah. I think I actually kind of almost was, like, in a sweatshirt cocoon on the couch, you know, just holding my baby. And and it but it was just definitely such a dark time, but such a I knew I would be okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, in true Lindsay fashion, it's time to rebuild, right? Yeah. So tell me about that process. Well, I just started. I mean, I knew I'd be okay, and I knew that what needed to be worked out would need to be worked out, and I didn't worry about all the little material stuff of sometimes what you hear, divorces and all that. I mean, it was like, whatever needs to be done will be done.
Right.
And so I started to work again part-time as a nurse because all of that energy, I didn't have the energy to be like a leader for any type of a team that I had built with the network marketing. And I think part of me deep down did kind of blame. It wasn't that I blamed network marketing. It was just that that was part of my past almost. It was just like almost I went from being all in to the point where I was, you know, like that's just who I was attached to it, to the moment I knew was letting go and moving on from a lot of pain and not being in the right place and not feeling safe, that it was like I just cut all ties to that too.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of misunderstanding there, so it was like the one place I had positivity and support, I almost like kind of instantly cut them out too. And it was just like I just knew it was just I needed to figure out who I was.
Yeah.
And it was almost like I'd figured out who I was, and I just needed to be me.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to hear opinions anymore, and I didn't want to discuss what I should do or shouldn't do, because that's all I was hearing from all these different angles.
Right.
And so if I was hearing that, I just shut you out.
Yeah.
And so, and it didn't feel sad to me, and it didn't feel scary, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I went and, like, just moved into an apartment with nothing.
Yeah.
And, definitely, like, still had, what do you call it, partial custody of the kiddos, so it wasn't like without them, but
sure.
And then it's just crazy when that happened, because it was just things just started opening up, and they were all new things, and I didn't necessarily worry about it, and somehow I had no money, but because of the residual income I had, I was able to pay the basic bills.
Sure.
And for sure, my parents like helped me initially moving out and things like that.
Yeah.
And it just started to work out.
Refresh.
Yeah.
Whole new. And then so you're trying to figure this out. So what led you the path that you're on now? Like, how did that even start? Where was the first step there? Because I feel like it was just like, bam, you're here. And I'm like, oh, there's Lindsay. Oh my God.
I hear that all the time. It was like, you were disappeared off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And then bam. And that's...
looking beautiful and happy.
Thank you.
She's doing something right.
Yeah, I feel really, I'm so happy.
Yeah.
But I've known that for the, the week that I left home, what was my home, I was like, I know I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I felt happy in those saddest, dark, it was just the weirdest thing to feel that way. And I think I finally, for the first time in my life, just felt like I was just not worrying about what anyone else thought, because at that point, everyone thought the worst of me.
Yeah.
And so what did it matter?
Yeah, I got nothing to lose.
Yeah,
let's do this.
I was rock bottom.
Yeah.
I mean, in all shape of the word, rock bottom.
Yeah.
And so, and so I just lived, and I breathed, and I just got super lucky. Someone from where I had lived knew that I was a nurse, and she knew I probably would work part-time, and so I started working as an aesthetic nurse, and that was like something completely different.
Right.
I had never even considered aesthetic nursing, like Botox, and I mean, labor and delivery, like I'd never even touched that. I'd never even done anyone else's makeup, really.
Yeah.
And so started doing that, and just the pure challenge of it being so new was really, really fun.
Nice.
Yeah, and terrifying.
Of course.
But I loved it, and it was the same thing. It was just fun and helping people feel good. There was nothing like life-threatening. They were choosing to come in to have it done.
Yeah.
And so it was a really awesome blessing to have that transition.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you can still use your skill set in just a different form.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep. And it was like, regular hours.
Yeah, regular, good. That's
actually the best hours I've ever had. and part-time, and so it was really great. So I started doing that, and then it's funny because the company that I was with, the nutrition company, I think they were trying the same thing. They were going to save me and pull me back, and they asked if I would be an ambassador for them, and once a month they were going to just send me to anywhere in the U.S., and I was going to travel and speak for them about the nutrition. And oh my gosh, I thought I was like a celebrity. I thought I had like, it was the coolest thing in the world because they wanted to do a photo shoot and all of that. Yeah. And it was so, again, it was just a blessing for that time because it was just, I mean, I still to this day don't know why they chose me. Because, I mean, I had really stopped doing anything as far as building and sharing the product. And I got to still once a month for free travel and speak somewhere cool, like Nashville and New York. Sure. This little farm girl never in a million years thought she'd go to New York. Right. Texas, I went to the border and got chased by the border control and, with this hilarious comedian that's really well known, Rayne. Yeah. And oh my gosh, it was hilarious. And then I would come home and work part-time as an aesthetic nurse and then have my kids. Yeah. And I then met my now husband. Yeah. That, so I never even dated. I just, so.
Wow, that's kind of cool that you got to go to so many different places, though.
It was. That's and then awesome. Traveling was really cool because what I started to, I mean, it's not like I did it forever. Sure. But I went to so many seriously opposite types of places. Yeah. That, and again, not nearly like traveling isn't like that is possible, people that really are well traveled. Yeah. But I just quickly started to realize, like, because I went to New York completely by myself. And at one point I was in kind of like a office attire dress. And it was 2 a.m. and I was literally in the Bronx. Oh gosh. Pulling my suitcase down the sidewalk, and the whole like they're playing basketball on the chain link fence and the night lights on, and they didn't have room for me in the hotel, so then I had to walk down somewhere else, and it was just nuts. Wow. And
that's not unnerving at all.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing. It really wasn't.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. And that's what I started to realize is that people we're all the same. Yeah. You know?
I was just gonna say, I think that one of the best parts of going to even just different towns is just the people themselves. Like, see how they conduct themselves and how they interact with each other. And some places are like really warm and like inviting and down home, and other places are just like very, polished, and we'll keep our space. We'll converse, but we've got our space here. So like, did you come up against that at all?
Yeah, for sure. And then it was funny though, because when you kind of break through that layer, they're all this. I mean, it's just there's so many common like connections. Yeah. And because I was going there to speak about this product, right, that is very anti-inflammatory, and so it just amazed me that these same stories I'd heard in my backyard about how stuck people felt before the product, and then they would, start to refocus on their health, and then how free how like healthy and vibrant and life-changing that was for them. That just that one shift, that one being open to something different and feeling, but no matter where I went, that transformation didn't happen unless they were like really, they had gotten to the point where they felt so stuck. I mean, you never hear that like transformation story of, I felt okay and now I felt okay and now I feel okay and it's great. Like, it's always like the before has to be like you get to, I feel like crap. Like I know I don't feel good. Yeah. And it's always, there's like this gray area where people they might not even be sick. It could be like, where I used to feel guilty for even saying that I felt stuff because I was a 29-year-old young, totally looking fine female that didn't even have, necessarily, I wasn't overweight. Yeah. But I felt like I was dying inside.
Right, but the nutrition also builds our mind, too. We need that also. Yeah.
And so that's what I started to realize. I'm like, there is so much more to it. And it's not just the fact that it's that product. It's just they they got to the point where they're like, I am so stuck.
Yeah.
I don't feel right. Something's not okay. And so they're open.
Yeah.
And then they try something and they're focusing on just being aware of what they're putting in. Even if it's just they're more aware of that one thing that they're doing every day.
Right, right.
They're watching, they're becoming intuitive about the feedback of it.
Right, right. I was going to say, and you can correct me if you see it differently, but what I've noticed a lot with a lot of like programs or supplement lines is it provides structure.
Yes.
So you have a routine that you need to hold yourself accountable for, which automatically produces change in all other aspects of your life. And then you have proper nutrition most of the time with these products. So that way you can actually do the things that you set out to do. And so like I feel like you said, no matter which product or which line or which, you know, diet you're on, it still provides those key things for success, and like you said, to get you unstuck.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what was mind-blowing to me, and it was almost like you would think it would have built my belief in the product in even more, but actually kind of made me realize it's not the product. Yeah. Just, you know, it's not just that one thing, it's that whole cycle. Right. And it's that's when I realized that's what health is. Right. It's that and that's why I always say, like, I think if you think about how amazing our bodies are, that right now you could go on a diet that has absolutely no carbs in it, or you could go on a diet and it's all fat, or you could go on a diet that's barely any fat and a ton of carbs, and they both will work.
Sure, just switching it up.
Yeah. And it's, our bodies are like amazing, and so either one of those diets will work for a certain person.
Sure, or a given amount of time, for sure.
Yeah, and you're exactly spot on. I feel like there's so much more to it. It's that deciding to, you know, have a change, being more self-aware, because you have to be aware of what you're putting in. When you go on a diet, no matter what the product is, you're exactly right. It's a program or a system that you have to follow the guidelines, which is just making you more aware. It's self-monitoring.
For sure.
So.
For sure. And I think that translates. I mean, obviously, I see the downfall a lot in that system with the mental work. I feel like it's very physically focused. Yes. And I feel like there's a huge gap there sometimes. You're like, okay, we got our bodies taken care of. Now let's work on what's going on up here, you know?
Yes.
So what do you see as far as that goes?
Oh, I completely agree. So how Sculpt happened is when I was traveling, I was working as an aesthetic nurse at home, which is it's like you can't connect the dots till you look back. Yeah. And so
I wish we had foresight and we can be like, oh, that's going to be the move, you know?
Yeah. And I because of my exposure to aesthetic stuff, I knew about aesthetic things and the technology out there. And so I'd seen LED, they were called lipo lights at a lot of places, and was just amazed that you know, even existed. And then when I was traveling, though, I met someone that had a center that was using the nutrition I was traveling and speaking for, and then these lights to help people feel better. And it just blew my mind. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like, holy smokes. And I fell in love with the lights and that light spectrum, because it's just triggering the body to do what it's designed to do. It's not killing, freezing, cutting, removing anything.
Sure, yeah.
So, and if you don't focus on healthy habits, but just seriously basic ones, like the basic of no matter what you're doing, you know, water, being self-aware of what you're putting in your mouth, and the mental part, it doesn't work. Right. And so I loved it. I just instantly, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Yeah. And I could picture having a center where we're just kind of using the lights as a really awesome jumpstart, but where it's like, okay, let's talk about the mental part. Okay, now that you're feeling really good, you know, what are you noticing makes you feel good when you're outside of here? Right, right. And so
adding that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what it's sculpting a lifestyle starts to happen, you know. Yeah. And there's something to be said. A lot of people are being really good at being self-aware, and they're getting the exercise in, and certain things happen, or like age, or menopause, or stress at work, Even though they're dieting and exercising, the stress at work is making like midsection weight gain and things like that. Really stubborn areas.
Stress is a funny thing.
Yeah. I mean, I hear all the time. In fact, a client this morning she knows all the right things to do. Mm-hmm. She's done a bikini show before. She's used products to get super lean before. Mm-hmm. But she had a lot of tragedy in her life, and she doesn't have the motivation to do that. So she's to the point where she feels so stuck. Even though she knows what to do, she doesn't even know how to start except for having accountability and something that's not diet and exercise, because she's like, I've been there, done that.
Say, being in that realm, it's all diet and exercise to get that lean. I mean, you think about it from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, and then you dream about it.
Like, so it's almost like she's, just completely burnt on that. She just, so it's not that she doesn't want to eat healthy. She just doesn't want to have to do that strict obsessing about it thing. That was what's always worked for her before.
Right. So tell me more about the lights themselves.
Yeah. So I mean, the brand that we have is called Sculpt Light. Mm-hmm. But it's essentially just a form of a light spectrum that happens to, when it goes through your skin, that as far as we know, has no negative side effects except for tightening the skin. When it goes through your skin, it's a red spectrum, so it's just like that, like a red LED light. Okay. And that red light actually stimulates fibroblasts that makes your skin get tighter as it makes new skin. Mm-hmm. So the trouble area we're just resting a paddle on, it's like the size of your hand. Mm-hmm. It's just, that's what the light comes out of, is a paddle. And we have about 16 of them per treatment. And we just rest them wherever you want to tell your body, like, hey, thanks for storing that energy for me, but I don't need it right now. And you can go ahead and let that go. Yeah. And so for 20 minutes, the clients relax, ends up feeling like a warm stone by the end of 20 minutes. But what's happening is the light spectrum's hitting the fat cell, and the fat cell, because our bodies are so awesome, it doesn't give a crap, like, if it's your body's needing that energy from diet or exercise, like, that fat cell doesn't care. Right. The way the light spectrum's hitting that fat cell is just telling it to release the stored fat. The same way that the hormone response would happen from lack of calories that day, and so you're actually going to use your stored fat.
That sounds pretty darn awesome.
Demanding it from energy or from exercise.
Right.
And it's not like I said, it's just, it doesn't analyze, well, should I or not? Like, once it's triggered, it does its job.
It's just a response for sure. That's awesome.
Yeah. So if you think about that, like, we're getting the fat cell to release the fat, and that area is getting stimulation to tighten the skin that will come in. So you have circulating released fat, which is triglycerides, that's going to be metabolized by your liver. So if you go consume a lot of like processed food that your liver has to really process, or drink alcohol, it's going to shut off a lot of like the fat burning mode. Okay. So our clients have to be like aware of what they're doing to make sure.
Sure, it's not like a cure-all where you just like zap me.
Yeah. Can't. I always just joke because we're right by Sonic fast food. I always joke. Oh no. So when you leave here, you can't eat Sonic. Yeah. And then when you can't get home, you need to drink water and
Here, take this bottle of water and go home and cook yourself some chicken. No.
Yeah. But we don't have any restrictions on what they eat. Yeah. You know, at first when I first opened, I totally thought that I would be giving meal plans and telling them exactly what to eat. Yeah. And what I realized was I didn't want to do that.
Oh, meal plan building is exhausting. It really is.
And we actually do that for certain clients, but most clients, when I always start with a one-on-one, and when I listen to people, what they tell me is it's worked for them in the past, but that's also what they've always just regained the weight from the moment they stop. Sure. And so I always say, what we want to do at Sculpt is help you finally find something that's not a start and a stop, but just a kickstart for a healthy lifestyle. Yeah. So that's awesome. And it's working awesome. It's so fun.
Beautiful. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that all of these different things like came together to produce this business that you're running.
Thank you. And it's the same things happening, but this time I'm very much, and I've failed already so much in the last year, like certain things, and learning so much about owning a business because I've never owned a business before. Yeah. But this time I'm very much unattached to the lights. As much as I love our lights, and our name is, based around, well, it's funny because they're called Sculpt lights, but we actually named it Sculpt 6 months before we even got the Sculpt.
Oh, really?
We had different machines before.
Oh, my God.
And our symbol, I love a local company, Art Mill, helped us with the logo design, and it's funny how it ended up, it looks like a pathway.
Yeah.
And that's just truly kind of what's happening is I'm open to whatever will help people feel good. And so we're already moving to a new location that's going to be almost triple the size. We're going from having the lights and 3 treatment rooms to having 9 treatment rooms and almost 6 services that are all like biohacks.
It's going to be awesome.
So I'm really excited.
So when is the projected date for this?
March 1st.
March 1st. Oh, that's fast.
Yeah.
Oh,
have you heard of cryotherapy?
I have not.
Okay.
Tell me.
So, you know how people do an ice bath?
Yes.
So, and do you know why they do an ice bath, probably?
Yes.
So, anti-inflammation.
Right.
So, cold chamber therapy is just using nitrogen to get the coldness or that your skin temperature down.
Right.
And you do it for a max 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But you're instantly negative 212 pretty much. But it gets it's the effects of an ice bath amplified.
Yeah,
it rushes all your blood internally. And then as you come out of the chamber, your blood comes rushing back out, and that just completely cleanses, detoxifies, and completely cleanses inflammation.
Wow.
So like joints and things like that. So.
And you'll have these at this new location?
Yeah, we're gonna have a chamber, and then also spot treatment and cryofacials.
Ooh, I bet
which are
that
like
would be amazing.
Really awesome.
Oh, sign me up.
Yeah.
Please. No.
And then we have infrared saunas.
Yeah.
Far, near, and mid-infrared saunas, which is like awesome for detoxification,
Nice.
that kind of thing.
A lot of releasing.
And then like a fitness studio with yoga. Some really cool girls that are going to be doing some fun different types of yoga.
What about meditation?
Oh my gosh, so we were just talking about that today.
Yes, I am on a 30-day straight meditation right now, and it is beautiful. I'm on day 9, and so if you have meditation going on in that studio, I will be there.
So I just interviewed a girl today that I was asking her if she could, I'm looking for people that would be willing to teach meditation or do guided meditation.
Yeah.
Because that's something I'm trying to learn. I'm horrible at it. Horrible. But it's actually, there's no way I would be here today with you, without this last year, without doing the meditation and continually when things get really scary, because it's first year in business and trying to reach people, and I just stick to my vision of just people feeling good.
Yeah.
And it's I'm just open to whatever it is that'll help them feel good, or just creating the space for it.
Yeah,
so.
And meditation is such a crazy thing. I am not, or I'm getting better, but I wasn't very good at it, and I would only do it when I really needed it, when I really felt like I had to.
Yes.
And so this consistent meditation is kind of blowing my mind right now. I'm just
oh, I would love to learn. Yeah.
I am reflecting on everything from just yesterday. Look at all of these different things. Okay, now we can just turn those off, and we're all good now.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Oh, I don't know about you, but there's times where my mind is going a million miles an hour, and that's what I talk about as a female, too, especially, with 3 children,
yes,
and a new husband, and a new business.
You're just living in that fast lane all the time, girl.
And there's times where I kind of wake up and realize I have not been present with any of my family around me, and I have great support for it, but I don't like that.
Yeah, no, it makes you feel terrible.
Yeah, and then
it does for me. I'm just I'm a terrible person. I'm a terrible mother. I'm a terrible wife. What am I doing? Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
And I've definitely noticed the meditation helps me realize that sooner.
Yeah.
And just feel more calm and more able to shut off when I need to shut it off and just be.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you have the full meal deal coming here with this new location.
Yeah. So, I just always put it out there that we're really open. If anyone has anything they want to share with our clients are awesome and really open. And I'm just super excited to see what this new space will bring. And we're opening a place in Yakima as well. That's kind of just now came about, but it'll be a smaller place with just the lights right now. But I mean, my vision's to have quite a few just kind of all over and create like a community.
Yeah, do it.
So.
Do it.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. So where can we find you right now?
Well, right now we're on Gauge.
Okay.
And it's funny because we're Sculpt, and then there's Shape.
Oh.
and they're awesome because poor them. Like, people go in there all the time thinking that it's Sculpt and vice versa.
Wait.
Yeah. And so we're right on Gauge between Sonic, the fast food, and the vet clinic.
Okay.
And then March 1st we'll be on West Clearwater.
Okay.
Right by Excalibur, 8503 West Clearwater. So, and cryotherapy will be here. So I love that cryo is coming.
I want to try that.
Oh, you should come do like a,
That's what I want.
Yeah, they call it addictive therapy because once you feel that good afterwards, you gotta do it again.
Nice.
So.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming and chatting.
Oh my gosh, I love
sharing.
what you're doing.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm just so excited for you, and I'm so glad that all these different pieces are aligning and helping you build what you want to build and be happy.
Yeah, I feel like, I just am so passionate about if anyone feels stuck, for them to know that's not an alone feeling and that you can always get unstuck.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, if you want to go get unstuck, see Lindsay.
Yeah.
You can find her on Facebook.
Yeah, Sculpt Tri-Cities.
Awesome.
SculptTriCities.com. No dashes there.
No dashes. Awesome.
Yeah, you can book a free consultation at any time.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And that concludes our Unraveling with Lindsay. You can find her online at SculptTriCities.com, on Facebook at Sculpt Tri-Cities, and also follow her on Instagram at Sculpt_Tri-Cities.
Thank you all so much for listening. If you would like to help support Unraveling with Rayne, go to patreon.com/unravelingwithrayne. When you become a patron, you receive bonus content such as behind-the-scenes footage, along with other special content that you won't be able to find anywhere else. Music for Unraveling with Rayne was provided by Barefoot Randy. Studio space was provided by Moody Logic.